invite anybody to come up at this time and address the council. And I'd like to have our House of Representatives please come forward and give us your brief, if you did any good at the legislature.
Thanks, Mayor, council members, good to be here. No, we didn't do anything.
3 months of nothing.
No, I think we did a lot of really good things this session. We had a lot of extra funds that we were able to allocate. The state is pretty careful about making sure we're allocating it to the right places and not over allocating. Not going to mess the budget like other governments with all that stuff like to do. So I think we did a lot of good. I worked on a few big funding initiatives. Bringing the Olympics back to Utah was an initiative that I was heavily involved in. We got $66 million approved to upgrade, I guess, the facilities that we have, improve the facilities that we have. That's without the matching local grants from Arbor and Provo, and Park City as well. So in total, it's going to be about $90 million of funding to bring the Olympics back. Another funding issue that I worked on was helping our youth, helping parents understand how to teach their children proper and safe use of technology. We're seeing a big problem in our society where kids aren't using technology appropriately. We saw the situation in Magna last week with the young woman who was kidnapped and found in Texas based on a internet or a social media relationship that she developed with some stranger and kidnapped her. So we got some funding to help with that initiative. I sit on the state committee. I co-chair the state committee that's over that, and Councilmember Lenore works with me on that committee as well. So, we dealt with, we cut taxes a little bit.
I haven't decided where I'm going to go, which restaurant I'm going to spend that tax relief you gave me, okay?
$14.99, yeah.
That'd be McDonald's.
Yeah. You can spread it out over
Yes, yeah.
a couple of meals.
Ice cream. And you can't even drive to a restaurant.
Yeah, no, we did it that way just to make sure that we didn't overshoot the target, right? We don't want to raise taxes again. And so we're taking a step down approach to it, which I think is prudent right now, especially with volatility in the economy and gas prices, supply chains, all that kind of stuff that kind of dominates our economy right now. So we took a step down approach to it, and I think we'll evaluate it. Probably mid-September, we'll have a good idea of where we can give some more tax breaks heading into next session. So, yeah, we dealt with a few hot button issues as well. The transgender participation in girls' sports. Everybody says it's a ban. It's actually not a ban. They can't participate in competition, but they can participate in any other way possible. They can practice, they can manage, they can do all of those other activities. It comes down to 4 athletes in the state, and we're talking about 35,000 or so girls who are participating in sports. And so really it was a protection of the progress that we've made in the last 50 years since Title IX in girls' sports.
How much money did you allocate for the lawsuit? Was it 500,000?
It was 500,000.
Yeah. And were there discussions about how successful you think that's going to be?
It probably failed to be.
Yeah.
There would be an injunction and, you know, there will be, I will say this though, Utah is not the first, it's actually the 10th or 11th state to pass a bill like this.
Mhm.
And there are other lawsuits, Indiana, I think Florida has one that are currently enjoined. And, you know, I think the same thing will happen here in Utah. And then if that happens, the immediate fallback is, with an injunction or an override of that bill, or that provision of the law, the immediate fallback is a commission, that evaluates participation. And so, yeah, I imagine that it might be, struck down. But I think it's a step in the right direction to protect, you know, our young women in their participation of athletics and sports, so,
Thank you very much.
yeah.
Thank you.
But it's good to be back to my day job and back to regular life, so.
And I also want to thank you for that. I just see a little portion of what you guys sacrifice for 3 months, and it's tough. You guys work so hard, long hours, and with a lot of information and a lot of viewpoints from different people. And so I'm just grateful that you're sacrificing and your family's sacrificing for that. So thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for coming and see us every once in a while.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Anyone else like to come forward and address the council? I see no one, so we'll now close our open session and move on to item number 6. Our consent items this evening are for your vote are the city minutes of the March 1 and the March 15 meetings. And with that, I'd ask for a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilmember Jensen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Anderson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to our, we have no board, commission, or committee appointments or presentations this evening. We'll now move on to our one public hearing this evening. And it is 9A, public hearing to consider for adoption ordinance 2022-13, amending city code section 10-11E-1-1, the downtown village zone, permitted use, expanding and permitting uses include the use of number 5511 motor vehicles, automobiles, new and used, and permitting only within the area north of State Street and the frontage of 600 West and the area with the frontage to State Street as shown on the map attached to the ordinance codified hereon, as well as use number 5512 motor vehicles, automobiles. And let me finish up here. New and used and permitted only within the area north of State Street with frontage on to 600 West area and the frontage to State Street as shown on the map attached. So, Director.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So what we have today here in front of us, it's a code text amendment. What the applicant, see if I can condense everything that you said. What the applicant is proposing is to include use 5512. The use 5512 is the retail or sales of used motor vehicles or automobiles into the downtown zone on properties along State Street, okay? I'm gonna zoom out a little bit and maybe give you a little bit of background about this. So, as we know, and lately we have discussed this at large, or downtown zone, and the uses that are permitted in the zone, about, I don't know, well, we have done a revision of the uses multiple times, but it was about 6 years ago when we decided that use 5512 and 5510, which is the retail or sales of used vehicles, did not or should not be on our downtown zone. We thought it was a very intense use and that you didn't belong to the zone. However, there were already this business right here in the corner along 600, and we said, well, in the code, we wrote out and we said a part that says, the use is not permitted anywhere in the zone with the exception of this area right here. So that's what the mayor was reading, with the exception of
When did we do that?
about 6 years ago, 5 years ago, when we did the revision, the first revision of all the uses. So we eliminate the use, and what we have right now is a property owner, Gary Taylor, who owns the property. And now I'm going back to, this is Main Street and State Street. To help us locate ourselves, Chavis is right here. So, property owner along State Street, Gary Taylor, who owns this parcel right here, is proposing now to add the use back into the zone to allow the use, use 5512, the retail of used vehicles. We do have a business right now, right here. Okay, this parcel 379, this parcel does have a legal non-conforming use that they've been continuing for quite some time, so they do have a business license. Now, if we take a look at that map, and I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, this is something very important to notice, the opposite way. And code enforcement is working on it right now. The properties end right here at the curve, so these parkings right here on this parcel, they belong to the city. So right now there are cars for sale parked right here, so we're working on removing those, because that's not private property, that belongs to the city. So we are not allowing to put cars right here, and we're working on it right now. But again, the proposal came from the property owner who owns this property right here, and who would like to add the use into the downtown zone, village zone. This item went to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission took a look at this, and they decided that that's the gate to our downtown. We have different ways of access to our downtown, but they say when you travel on State Street, that's where the first thing you see. And they sent a recommendation of denial 4-2, not to add the use back into the zone. Okay? That's what I have, Mayor and Council. If you guys have questions, I'll gladly try to answer them.
Any questions, Council?
Just a question, if they were to sell cars on that property, where would they, who owns this, sorry, maybe this is a better question. Who owns this property then right here?
The city?
City.
So that leads to the second question, where would they sell cars?
They will pretty much storage them in the back and just have people to come and walk toward the back.
Okay.
Or something
Okay.
like that. Now, the proposal is to add the use because, you know, we always have to have a specific area if we're gonna allow it or in the entire zone. But the proposal is to add it to all the properties facing State Street. So it will be these properties right here will be the ones allowing to have that use on the properties.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. And I don't think our applicant is here this evening. So, but with that, I'll open up our public hearing and invite anybody to come forward to address the council on this. I see no one coming forward, so we'll close it and bring it back up for further discussion or a motion on ordinance 2022-13.
Just my gut feeling is that that this is the gateway to the city, so I'm a no on this one.
There's no chance I'm voting yes on this. So I'll just make a motion to.
Okay.
To deny the adoption of the ordinance 2022-13.
I'll second that.
I have a motion to deny by
Wait a minute.
To read it?
It would be helpful if in your motion, you at least adopt the findings of the planning commission as to your rationale for denying it.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to deny the ordinance, the pending ordinance, based upon the recommendation from the planning commission, finding that this is the gateway to our city, and that's not the right visibility that we want for our city. So that is the denial of amending city code section 10-11E-1-1 in the downtown village zone.
I will second that
Does that
with
work
a
all right?
denial.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Williams, a second by Councilmember Bullock. And this is to deny, so we'll start out with Councilmember Anderson.
So this is a double negative, so is
No.
that a yay?
Yes,
It's a yes to deny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock
Yes.
and Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
And,
The denial
To approve
passes.
a denial, yes.
Yes, okay.
Just one more comment on that. I do remember that when we did give the approval for that on Sixth West and Center, that there was going to be a parking lot poured. And so I would love to have code enforcement, or just remember what it was that we approved and have that enforced.
On 600 West?
Yes.
I thought there was curb and gutter involved there
You know,
too, so.
curb gutter and,
And nothing's
So
happened.
Yes.
What the staff did, I went back to check the minutes of what was said, and we took a list of everything that was supposed to happen there. We gave it to the property owner, and we're waiting for the asphalt plants to open and start working on it.
Okay,
But, yeah, code enforcement is actively working on it.
all right, thank you.
thanks, good work.
Okay, now move on to our action items for this evening, and we'll move to 10C, to consider for adoption resolution 2022-019, authorizing the mayor to sign the memorandum of understanding, the MOU between Health Center Theater and doTERRA LLC in Pleasant Grove City regarding the construction of a performing arts theater and providing for an effective date. Director, or not director, or city administrator.
I think we're all familiar with the background here. We do have Health Center Theater, which is announced to come to Pleasant Grove City. doTERRA has donated when I say donated the property, they've worked out a favorable lease agreement for them to build on this particular piece of property. In order for this to take place, and what you have in front of you is just what we call a memorandum of understanding, which kind of outlines the things that we're agreeing to, with the understanding that we will have a master lease agreement that will get into more detail regarding these. But we wanted to make sure all the parties are on the same page as we move forward, because the bonding portion of this will be moving forward fairly soon. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody has an understanding of who's responsible for what. I'm going to go through the memorandum, and then before you vote, we'll have Cody Swenson and Jeff Fisher come up, and they're with Health Center Theater, and they can come and, they don't need to introduce themselves. You've met them before, you know who they are, but they can kind of talk about where they are in the process and just talk a little bit about the project. So what the city is committing to, this is our intent and understanding is how it's worded. That we will issue bonds of $35 million for the purpose of designing, engineering, bidding, and constructing a performing arts facility. We will utilize lease revenue bonds issued by a local building authority. So we've used the term municipal building authority in the past. The state has changed the name. It's now a local building authority. I think
Okay.
Tina explained that to us a couple weeks ago when we established our local building authority. So that will be the local building authority, which is the city council wearing a different hat. The agreement will be between Health Center and the local building authority. The city will own the facility to start through the local building authority. Item D is that we'll enter into a lease agreement with Hale in the form of what's called an acquisitive lease, meaning as they make payments, they will gain ownership of the building. So by the time the bond is paid off, they will have complete ownership of the facility. Item E is that we'll enter into a ground lease with doTERRA under extremely favorable terms for this building to be placed on doTERRA, with the understanding that if something were to happen to Health Center Theater, then the city and doTERRA would work together to find another patron for the facility. They would have a vested interest, just like we would, in order to make sure we get somebody in there fairly quickly. There is, through the bonding process, there will be a debt reserve set up so that we'll have a year's worth of payments in case something happens. And then, again, working with the donors and other people that will be involved, you know, and depending, I mean, we're all crossing our fingers that we never have to get there, but if something does happen, there are some backstops to help with that. Item F is assisting Hale in facilitating the procurement of professional services to design, engineer, and construct the performing arts facility. That's already underway. So doTERRA's, what they will be committing to is providing 1 or more acres of land to accommodate the facility. They'll enter into a ground lease with the local building authority favorable to the project. And I'll just read this specifically. The ground lease shall provide certain protective covenants to the local building authority in order to protect the LBA and bond purchasers' ability to seek financial remedies with the overall operation and utilization of the performing arts facility to the extent Hale defaults under the lease agreement. So that whoever's going to buy these bonds, they're going to want to make sure that if Health Center Theater can't perform, that they're going to be protected, and that they will still be able to recoup their money. So that's expressly written out here. And then it says the ground lease cannot be disruptive in terms of the security provided to bond purchasers. So if for some reason Hale can't perform, that lease agreement does not go away. It's still intact, so that everybody's working together to get things back on track. Also, doTERRA will be providing, as part of the master plan of this project, parking, and they will be handling the landscaping, public areas, green space, and open walkways. doTERRA is very, very protective of how their place looks, and that's good. And so they want to have control over kind of the landscaping and some of those things, which I'm sure Health Center Theater is completely fine with. They don't have to worry about that. Health Center Foundation for the Arts and Education will be, they will be designing the performing arts facility, of which will have a main stage theater of roughly 670 seats. They'll also have what they call a flexible space theater. They've called it a black box, so this will be a little bit of a smaller theater, 250 or so seats. And then they'll handle, they'll have kind of a school there, what they call the Performing Arts Education Center Operations and Production Offices that will be a part of this facility. Health Center Theater will enter into a lease agreement with Pleasant Grove, with the LBA, wherein the lease payments will cover the revenue bonds, which are semi-annual and annual debt service payments. They will also establish a capital repair and replacement fund, and they'll establish of a operating or stabilization fund, establish a stabilization fund for operations. This lease agreement also contemplates the use of privately raised donations and contributions, and how those contributions will be used under the lease agreement. So what this means, once we get to the master agreement, if they get donors that come on board, let's say in a couple of years, we want to make sure that some of that money is set aside for the lease payment and not everything going directly back into the theater. So we haven't really worked out the terms of that just yet, but we just want to make sure if there's additional revenues captured, that we still have that protection of some of that money being set aside for future bond payments. And then the agreement also states that the Health Center Theater will reimburse the city should there be any expenses that are incurred by the city related to the project prior to the issuance of bonds. So generally speaking, if we're cash out of pocket on anything, once the bonds are issued, then those proceeds will be used to help pay us back and make sure that we're whole as a city. We don't know just yet, but there might be some costs that we have to upfront, and we're just saying we want to be reimbursed for those costs. So that's the basics of the agreement and the 3 different entities. Tina, did I miss anything there? We good? Any questions?
Yes, I have one. So how do we build that debt service reserve? is that coming from us, or is that at the initial bond revenue?
I think generally speaking, when the bonds are issued, they take a portion of it and set aside for
Okay.
a one-year payment.
So it is part of the bond?
That's my understanding. Is that right, Denise?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we do this, so Jason Birmingham with Lewis Young Robertson Birmingham, they're the ones that are going to help us with the financing of this and the issuance of the bonds. They'll come and explain all that.
Also,
To the city council.
on the sample that I reviewed from Sandy City in their health center theater, they also had allowed them to build up a certain amount of reserve through more lease payments. So the lease payment was to cover the debt service, but then they actually paid more to slowly build up one of the reserve funds as well. So that's how they handled it, and I assume we'll do it the same way.
Okay.
If I have a guess, in 10 years, if there's some additional money that's been set aside for lease payments, they'll probably, you cannot pay down a bond like you can a mortgage. So at 10 years, then you can refinance the bonds, and then we can take a chunk of money and put it towards the capital and
Oh,
just
okay.
refinance for less.
I
mean,
didn't
there's-
know that there was a penalty to,
Yeah, they don't
repay.
let you, the bondholders need guarantees that they're gonna have a certain revenue
Got it.
stream, and so yeah, so 10 years is usually the window before we can refinance. Okay, any other questions?
and is this a 501c3? What
Yes,
is,
you guys wanna come
okay.
up, Cody and Jeff, and we'll let Diana grill you about the 501c3 part of this.
I just think it's not big enough. It's not big enough, seriously.
670 seats, that's just gonna go like that.
$40 million bond, I'm sure.
There we go, compared to our 280 seats right now.
Yes.
It's a
No,
great-
I'm just so excited.
It's a great comment and question we've actually talked to a lot of people about. We're purposely building it this size for the intimacy that our theater is known for.
Yeah.
So actually it wouldn't work for us to be bigger. We intend to fill it as quickly as possible. And so we've got a pro forma that's set up pretty aggressively. We believe that'll happen within the first 3 years. But again, our intention is we think this is as big as we can go and still achieve the intimacy that our theater's history has been built upon, so.
When you open up, there'll be all-season ticket holders.
Yes.
Seriously, they will.
Yeah, so we're excited. The timeline we're working on right now is, today, we actually met with architects and did the pre-proposal meeting with them. And so it was exciting to see folks in there also excited about the project. And so we're hoping to have an architect selected by the end of this April. And then we'll work with you, the city, to procure the services of a contractor, which will be our next step. So it's funny how we get caught in this. All of a sudden, we're answering questions. I want to stop for a minute, if you don't mind, and celebrate a little bit. I just want to, without getting emotional, thank you for providing us a home. I can't even speak enough about Scott and Tina and the pleasure it's been to work with these two professionals. It's really quite refreshing to work with the city council, all of you who are so optimistic about us changing our home. And we just already feel at home. The mayor and his wife and others have been wonderful and supportive, and we're just really excited to be in Pleasant Grove. So thank you first.
Yes, and we have been doing the happy dance for a while.
Yes,
so
we have.
Thank you.
Well, I'm excited because I'm actually a Pleasant Grove resident.
I
and
did
so-
not know that.
Yeah, and so it's going to be a much shorter commute for me to just, I'm up on 11th North and 8th East, and so it'll be pretty quick to get to the theater, but thank you.
cool.
Well,
We feel
no,
welcome.
thank you for being here. You know,
Yes.
I've been a season ticket holder there, Norm, for many years. Last Thursday, I had the chance to go see Bright Star. Literally, probably one of the best productions
I've heard.
I've ever seen all over the world, including Sydney and London.
Oh, wow.
Phenomenal actors, actresses. Matter of fact, Swenson, what's her,
Adrienne Swenson, yes,
phenomenal,
she's fantastic.
fantastic. Voice of just amazing.
We are so fortunate to have the
Yeah.
talent that we
Yeah.
do here in this valley.
Relative?
No,
Really?
Believe it or not, no. but-
My wife and I were convinced
Yeah.
that it must have been relative,
Yeah,
but
coincidence.
she's been on Broadway for the last couple of months, I think.
She's been doing something professional. I'm
Yeah.
not sure what it is, but.
Anyway,
yeah.
thanks for being here. Totally support you. Totally support you being here, and couldn't be happier.
Thank you very much.
Everywhere I've gone and people find out that I'm on the council, the first thing they say is, "How did you get held?"
Well, that's a story to tell,
Yes,
right?
it is. And we probably,
And hopefully you don't share it.
we don't
I don't know
talk.
if you know this, but behind you, we just hired a new public works director, also from Orem. So
And
we're
I'm-
doing everything we can to just get everything from Orem.
And in fairness, our mutual friend told us how amazing you are, so we're excited to work with you, so that's fun, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing that I think we all know, goes without saying, is that this theater really represents the valley.
Yes.
We have people coming in from all over, and so really it's neat to be settled here in a central location that allows everybody to enjoy it. And so I think that's fun as well. So I think everybody's gonna really like what's being planned, and we're excited to share more with you when we have more, so,
Okay,
thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'll make a motion.
okay.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-19, authorizing the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding between Hale Center Theater, doTERRA LLC, and Pleasant Grove City regarding the construction of a performing arts theater and providing for an effective date.
We have a motion by Councilmember Williams. Do I have a
Second.
Second by Councilmember Bullock. And we'll start out with Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. We'll now move on to our,
Mayor, I got to take off, so.
Yes.
I think we have the
Thank
rest
you.
of the meeting
We got it.
covered, and
we got it handled.
we'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to 10A, to consider a proclamation declaring April 28, 2022 as Arbor Day. And we'll ask Director Giles to come forward and do the presentation.
Mayor and council, this year for our Arbor Day, we've moved it up. Generally, we do this on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And the last couple of years, we just haven't had the turnout and support, and it's mostly staff that's doing this. So we are going to hold the celebration on Thursday, April 28th at Discovery Park. Plant a couple trees out there just east of the playground, and invite anybody out to help us with that. So there will be a few beautification members there, but
Okay, anything else?
What time's that gonna be?
8 a.m.
8 a.m.
Okay, with that, no other questions? Ask for a motion.
Mayor, I'll
you.
make a motion that we proclaim, is that what we're doing?
Yeah,
We're proclaiming and declaring April 28th as Arbor Day.
okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Councilmember Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll now move on to 10B. Consider for adoption resolutions 2022-018, authorizing the mayor to declare a 2002 Ford Explorer and a 2003 Chevy Trailblazer as surplus, and directs that they be disposed of according to the city's policy for disposing of surplus property, providing for an effective date. Director Winterton.
Almost as exciting and impactful as the Hale Center Theater. We are going to recommend that these two vehicles that are no longer in our service as surplus.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't seen these around for a while, so
We tried to drive them over to the pipe plant till we could get them surplused, and they didn't make it. We had to trailer them over, so.
Well, now we have
Okay.
to pay to get them out of there.
So, okay, with that,
Okay,
yes,
I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2022-018, authorizing the mayor to declare the an '02 Ford Explorer and a '03 Chevy Trailblazer as surplus, and direct that they be disposed of according to the city's policy for disposing of surplus property and providing for an effective date.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Anderson. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Councilmember Williams. We'll start out with Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Bullock.
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. That concludes all of our action items for this evening. And so what we'll do now is go back and finish our work session and ask, I think, Chief Roberts, you want to come forward, and I think you had something you want to bring up, and
Mayor and Council, I was just going to let you know that Dennis Green has passed his field training, so he is now off on his own. He's doing a fantastic job. He was a great hire.
Good.
So Ryan Costa and Jerem are probably a month behind, so they're probably another 30 days, 5 weeks behind them maybe. So they're a little bit greener. Need a little bit more time, but Ryan's still on light duty with his eyeball situation, so he's not coming back till April 16th, but he'll be back in that. And then the only other thing I was going to let you know, I've been working with Scott a little bit, and I will be working with my administration to work on a mission statement for the police department. I'll be bringing that in front of you guys as soon as I can figure out something and get it down on paper. So
Good.
Thank you.
okay,
It's
and
not going to be just we keep the peace.
no,
Okay.
we'll try to make it a little more complicated.
A lot more words.
Thank you.
okay, thank you, Chief.
And by the way, Kyler, thank you for the newsletter that had the photos of the new hires.
That was helpful. It was helpful. I saw that. Yep.
Well, could we have our fire chief come up and tell us about what we did this past week?
So many sirens.
Well, that wasn't part of the fun. Some of us left town.
Yeah.
That was where the fun
I
was.
was thinking, if you want to get rid of the surplus of those vehicles, if they don't run, the fire department can take them. We can, cut them apart if they're not running, whatever. Make some training out of it. But, yeah, all kinds of fun. Yeah, so this last week, we went back to Appleton. Mayor came back with us on, we left Tuesday, got there Tuesday evening. And Wednesday, we went and did a pre-check on our new engine. They call it the blue floor. There's probably 10, 15 new apparatus in there that all departments from all over the country. They're from Texas and all over the place. And they just go through it and we check everything out. And so we spent the whole day going through it, top to bottom, underneath, on creepers, the whole thing. And they fixed a few things for us, found a couple things that, not anything real serious, but we caught a couple of things, which is kind of nice. But did a pump test on it, flew some water. Everything went real well. Everything was going great. I think the mayor had a good time walking around and looking at all the different, things they had there, the whole plant. Mayor left, we stayed, and we left Friday morning to drive home. So we left Friday at Appleton, Friday morning, made it to Sioux Falls. But we drove 10, 11 hours that day. Top speed, 68 miles an hour. So for what that's worth, you don't go real fast on those flat playing grounds. It's pretty boring. But so we made it to Sioux Falls. The next day, we made it down to Casper. But just before we hit Casper, we stopped at a small town, and we noticed it was leaking something. So we started doing some investigation, looking at it, called the mechanics, and did a few things. And got to Casper, and they didn't feel comfortable driving anymore. The drivetrain is great. Everything it had to do with the pump in the back and the transfer case. So they just weren't sure what it was, and they were nervous to drive it. So they decided they wanted to tow it back down to Salt Lake. So it's down here now. It got here the last night, so they're looking at it right now. But to try to find a rental car in Casper Sunday morning to get home wasn't the easiest thing in the world. We weren't sure what was going to happen, but we ended up finally getting a car, and we got home Sunday night, 7, 8 o'clock that night.
Do you have an interlocal agreement with?
No, there's no. We did leave it. We did leave this. We left the engine at a local firehouse. We got a hold of the chief, and he's like, "Oh yeah, just drop it off the back there." So we kept it in a good, safe spot, which is good. So they're looking at it right now, and hopefully get some news on it either tonight or tomorrow, and we'll figure out what's going on. But it's a great engine. I mean, the mayors are looking at it. It's going to be, a big asset to us for what we've got going. It's something that we've needed for quite a while, so it's going to be gonna be awesome. Once we get it here, we'll let you guys know. We'll have a little plan, a little ceremony of, pushing the new engine back into the bay and do that. So, other than that, it was a good trip until we made it to Casper. And there's not a lot in Casper if anybody wants to know.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Tell us about the fire that was up on,
so yeah, we were coming back and we started getting these reports of fire. And so, it ended up being a 14-year-old kid up up there by Baldy, or up, not Baldy, but Molly's.
yep, behind Molly's, right?
Behind Molly's, playing with match or doing something, or he had something he was trying to light a
Flint and
fire.
steel, I think, is.
Steel and flint, something like that,
and
yeah.
steel,
Started a fire, got nervous, and took off and left. And, they called it again, we had a ton of calls on it. Calls were coming in, left and right. So our guys got up there pretty quick. We had help from Lone Peak and from American Fork. They came up and helped us out, get that out. And so it went pretty good. Talking to the captain on duty that day, they had a couple bikers riding by that actually stopped and helped out quite a bit. They had stopped, there had a couple hot spots, had jumped. They'd actually got off their bikes and stomped it out a little bit, which was, he said it was a big help, actually. So, yeah, they had a little busy week this week. They had a number of medical calls and all kinds of fun stuff going on, but.
I was glassing the hillside.
Oh, were you?
And saw it and then stayed on it and
Yeah.
watched it.
I think I had a pretty good jump on it. And like I say, I was gonna thank you guys for, like I said, we have had a lot of stuff lately. We've got the brush truck, this engine, that ambulance. We do have a lot of stuff that's been needed.
Yep.
So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's, ambulance will be good. But ambulance is 13, 14 months away for build time right now is what it is.
So we found the kid, we found the boy.
Yeah, they got the boy, yeah. In fact, they had another boy, a couple other boys that same day or the next day at Thornberry over here. They lit a trash can on fire out back there, and they caught those guys too. So burnt the fence up and trash can and a few things, so.
Hey, Chief Roberts, I have a good mission statement for you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to borrow from him, see what happens. Be safe, I don't know what it is, but yeah, so.
Well, scouting used to take care of that pyro
Yeah.
part.
Yeah,
young
so.
men.
Yeah, but I appreciate you. Thanks for all the stuff we've had and what we've got going, so.
Great. Well, thank you. Thanks for the quick effort.
Thanks, Chief. That was quite an opportunity to go to the factory back there in Appleton. There was over 200 apparatuses that were in different stages of being put together. In fact, Mark took us over to the one building and said, okay, this is where the raw materials come in. And then we got to see where we were at is when those 20 apparatuses that were going out that day, because they start all with another group up the next day. So it was pretty impressive what they do and their quality control and how they really work as a team. And there was, how many colors did they? Yeah, of red. So we went in the mixing room and they had all these paint chips on the wall and, okay. I figured, why can't you just have 5? But anyway, so they showed us our color, but it was really impressive, and we'll get the bugs worked out. That's why we go on a good little road trip to make sure everything's worked out before we get everything worked out. But there was a lot of impressive fire apparatuses there, I'll tell you. And but ours was, we can be proud of this one when you finally see it. It's a good rig. So anyway,
It's a good red.
it's a good red. It's the same red as all the rest of our reds, so anyway. Do I have any other directors that would like to come forward and give us any updates tonight?
I just want to quickly we went to the funeral for Audrey Christiansen, my daycare supervisor's husband that unexpectedly passed away. He was on his way home with his boys they were out hunting in Arizona, and he had a heart attack, and it took him immediately, and thankfully their boy was able to grab the wheel and get him to the side of the road okay. But they were, his son, Dane Christiansen, he went pretty good sports athlete from Pleasant Grove. He was doing CPR on him for about a half an hour before, and the life flight arrived, and they just didn't take him because there wasn't a chance. And so just unfortunately, another at the recreation center but we're rallying around her. Scott and I went and visited her this last week. She's got great family around, and she's grateful for the support of the city and the staff. And so if you see her, she's going to work her way back to come into the rec center because she wants to get back. Just keep her in your thoughts and prayers. And it was a good funeral to honor his life yesterday. He was a big-time coach for Pleasant Grove youth football and helped out a lot of boys. And so big loss for the community, but just wanted to report that we're getting through it. So
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else? Wow, Neil, we're impressed.
Everybody's going to wonder when the pressurized irrigation system will be turned on. We're
Yeah.
targeted for May 1st. We are going to start filling Manila Pond. As you're aware, we have a project out there. So we're going to start using the water that's available out of the canyon. Then we're going to start pressurizing the system so that we can find any issues that might exist. As you're aware, we've had some work done in our right-of-way that we anticipate finding some things that might need to be repaired. So there will likely be disruptions even after May 1st that we will need to address. That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Had some people ask me today, and I says, well, sometime between April 15th and May the 15th. So, hey,
Is it usually May 1st? Yeah. I can't remember year to year, so.
We changed it to May 1st a few years ago. It used to be April 15th, but because of the water situation, we were trying to gain those 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
okay, anyone else? Okay, with that, we were kind of finished up this evening. And just check, see, Denise, do you have anything for us? Kathy?
Just make sure you sign the plaque.
Yes, sure.
I think you got
signed the
three,
plat.
I think you got 3 signatures. I don't know,
Did you,
I don't know if,
Eric and I did.
I don't know if Sid did.
That's fine. Just
So I guess the 4 of us did.
okay, all right, at that, Tina, and you? Kyler?
Just a reminder, just put on your calendars the Employee Appreciation Lunch on the 11th of May. That was changed from the 12th. I think the Colonels are having their golf tournament on the 12th, so you can put that on the calendar as well.
Okay.
And
Brent will make sure he puts that on his calendar.
then I'll be gone for the next 2 weeks as well. So
Happy baby.
happy baby.
Well, we wish Kansas the best.
And for the record, rock chalk, I think.
Okay, well, council, Diana, do you have anything else for us tonight? Brent?
I don't.
No.
Okay, that, I don't have anything else. It's just great to be here with you tonight, and we look forward to meeting with all of you down at our city's, let's see, yeah, that's where the last place we'll see you, next place we'll
Yeah.
see you. So anyway, we look forward to that. So with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. 7 o'clock.
How can a new guy come in and just win the ESPN?